Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people this winter are going to suffer. And I hate to say it, but a lot of people will probably perish because of the cold and the circumstances under which we find ourselves as a world, not just here in the United States. I believe that here in the United States that there will be a certain amount of suffering. However, I don't think it will be as bad as in other nations, especially the European Union, and especially those nations that were reliant on natural gas to heat their homes and now find themselves with either a minimal amount or with none whatsoever. I wanted to read to you some statistics of what it's looking like this year in the winter, and it's not looking very good. But before, I want to go ahead and just show you something. Go ahead and visit a video that I did probably almost a year ago or so, where my little bunker here, and for those of you that are wondering, well, this is not a bunker, it's not on the ground, it's just what I call it, right? It's where I do my YouTube videos, obviously, as you all know, and I just named it the bunker as a fun thing to do. But about a year ago or so, when it was about negative 26 degrees outside, I was able to maintain this bunker at about 60 degrees. It started out a little high, around 64, something like that, if I remember right. And it got down to like 60 degrees in here, and it maintained around 60 degrees when it was negative 26 outside. And I was able to heat this bunker with this right here, with two of these Coleman chandeliers, right? This is not a sponsored video. I'm not affiliated with Coleman or nothing like that. But these Coleman chandeliers, for those of you that are not familiar with it, is just a little lantern that holds 3 candles. Let me see if I can take it out real quick. It's a little lantern that holds 3 candles that are spring activated, right? That are spring activated. That way, as the candle is burning off, it's being pushed up, and it maximizes the fuel, which is the wax. And as you can see, there's no wax in the bottom or anything like that because most of it was burned off. So it's very efficient. But this bunker, I would say, is about 120 square feet or so. Right? The inside of it, the dimensions inside is about 11 feet by 11 feet, which is about 121 square feet. And with 2 of these, I was able to keep the temperature in this bunker at a steady 60 degrees. And I'll try to remember to leave that video on the upper right hand corner so you can go and check it out. Now, when I talk about this, and on that video I do believe that I talk about it as well, but I'll talk about it again here. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the rules that I have whenever I have any candles or lanterns of any kind that use a biofuel, right, to heat or to light, I never leave it unattended. I am always in the same room with it. And for example, let's say that you're in your living room and you have a candle burning for light. If you have to go, let's say for example, to the bathroom, right? I would take that candle or lantern to the bathroom with me. I would never leave it unattended, not even for a second. And the reason being is this. If you have a cat or a dog or a child, it only takes a second for that candle or lantern to get tipped over, and then you can see what happens from there. It could be a disaster. So make sure that if you decide to do something similar, that you do your homework, do your research, make sure that you follow any safety regulations, compliance that are in the instruction manual, user's manual, all of those things. Because what sense does it make to try to keep yourself warm with an alternative heating method if it's just going to end up causing a catastrophe within your life? All right, I'll go ahead and leave it at that. However, in addition to being able to use like candles in order to keep a room warm, if you look back there, you'll see that I have a couple of Aladdin lanterns that run on kerosene. Those produce an awful lot of heat. I'll try to leave the video that I did on this Aladdin lantern back here, the one that I just purchased here a few months back, on a card up here as well. And there I show you exactly how hot that gets. I believe it got up to like 400 or 500 degrees or something like that. I'm pretty senile, but I believe it got above 400 or 500 degrees of the heat that it was producing. So it produces an awful lot of heat. I know that from reading the owner's manual on these candeliers that they produce about the equivalent of 5,000 BTU of heat coming out of them. And I do believe that the Aladdin produces even more. So these are a couple of alternative ways that you can use to heat your homes. And what I would say is that if you are going to use these alternative ways to heat your homes, is that I would not try to heat my entire home with it. If, for example, you find yourself in a situation where there is no heat available in your home, period, to heat the entire home, this is what I would do. I would try to find the smallest room in the home, right? Because this is like a big emergency, right? If we had a huge emergency here, for example, where I live, where I just had absolutely no heat to heat my home, and there's nothing that I can do about it. Nobody's coming to my rescue. What I would do is I would come to this bunker. I would bring my family to this bunker, and I would heat this bunker with a couple of these, because I've stocked up on enough candles to be able to heat this bunker probably for about a week straight, right? Just for that. I have enough kerosene where I can light up my Aladdin lanterns for a long time as well. So what I would do is I would find the smallest, most insulated room in my home or on my property, which would be this bunker here. I would seal it off as much as I could. I would make sure that even though I'm trying to keep the space warm, that I had just a little bit of ventilation, meaning that I would crack a window just a tiny bit, maybe like 1/8 of an inch. I would crack a window, which will let in a little bit of cool air, but still it would not be enough to overtake the heat that is being produced by your candelier or your lantern or whatever other alternate heating method you may have that's just on a small scale. In addition to that, instead of cracking a window, maybe every once in a while, I would go ahead and open my door and close it. That would allow a rush of air to come in and go out due to the heat and the cold exchange from the outside to the inside. But that's just what I would do, ladies and gentlemen. Please do your own research. This is a very serious subject matter. And people make mistakes all the time trying to heat their homes, and they end up dying because of carbon monoxide in their home. Make sure that you also have a carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, whatever they call it. I call it a carbon monoxide indicator, or a carbon monoxide alarm that will go off if the carbon monoxide levels in your home starts going up. You should have that anyways. But in an instance where you were heating a small room just to try to escape the bitter cold of the rest of your house, make sure that you have that in that room as well. Again, you're trying to save life here, not take life. So having said that, I hope that just showing you those two examples or talking about those two examples would encourage you to go out there and just do a little bit of research and prepare for this coming winter, because it looks like a lot of people are going to suffer this winter. And here, this comes from Martin Armstrong. I've talked about Martin Armstrong before. He's a psychoanalyst who has a computer program that he invented that pretty much predicts what's going to happen. And pretty much everything that he's talked about in the past has come to be. Here it says, who's freezing in Europe this winter due to lack of money? Right? So inflation is taking its toll on the people's lack of purchasing power. In addition to that, what's going on geopolitically around the world, it's taking its toll on some countries more than others. But as the European Union as a whole, a lot of people in the EU are going to suffer. It seems that they are facing the blunt of these, what do you call them? Sanctions, ladies and gentlemen. See, I remembered. It took me about a minute, but I remember. Sanctions, ladies and gentlemen. They are getting the blunt of these sanctions. It's kind of a blowback of what sanctions do. They never help the people. Sanctions always hurt the people, and all you have to do is look around. Some people will say like, well, we have to do sanctions. Well, who do sanctions really help? And who do sanctions really hurt? They hurt the people. Even before the outbreak of this war and subsequent energy crisis in Europe, Germany's Federal Statistics Office estimated that 2.6 million people in the country could not adequately heat their homes in 2021 for financial reasons. And that was in 2021, ladies and gentlemen. And things, I would argue, are much worse this year going into this winter than last year. But Martin Armstrong notes, looking across the EU though, Germany wasn't even close to the worst affected country. I think that the numbers for Germany this year will be much higher than they were for last year. And we'll go through the numbers here in a second. People living alone and those in single-parent households are affected more often than average. And you take a look at these numbers for 2021 and then imagine how they're going to be a lot worse here in 2022. So last year, they only covered these countries right here for last year. There's obviously a whole bunch more countries in the EU than this. And it says here, freezing in winter due to lack of money. Share of population reporting that they cannot heat their homes adequately in 2021. And that is a percentage. And when they come up with this 2.1 million number, I believe it's a lot higher than that. And I'm going to go over some numbers with you just off of these numbers that they gave us here. Right, and it's, in my opinion, a lot more than 2.1 million people. Here they say that Bulgaria was 23.7, Greece 17.5, Spain 14.2, Romania 10%, Italy 8%, France 6%, Germany 3%, Finland 1% or 1.3. And it says you will find more infographics at Statista. On average, around 7% of the EU population are too poor to heat their homes properly. This problem is particularly pronounced in Bulgaria. Obviously, they were number one, where almost a quarter of the population is struggling. And the other end of the spectrum is Finland, where only 1.3% have to freeze due to lack of money. Isn't that terrible? While significantly fewer people are affected there in 2021 than in previous years, 9%. An increase is expected again in 2022 in view of the energy crisis resulting from the big R attacking the big U. I went ahead and took these numbers right here. I went ahead and took these numbers, and then let me show you what I did, ladies and gentlemen, to show you the severity of what I feel is going to be like this winter for them. I hope I'm 100% wrong. I truly do. But that 2 million number to me just doesn't sound quite right. So I went ahead and took the percentage of the people in these countries that were not going to be able to heat their homes. And remember, they're saying that it's going to be higher this year. This is last year's number. But I took the percentage of the actual population in that country. So I went over to this site over here. And it pulls up the population of Europe in 2022. And it states here that in Europe, the population is 743 million people. So 743,000,147 people is the population. But then again, that covers Russia, that covers Germany, that covers a whole bunch of places. So what I did was I went to the bottom here, and I got the actual number for each country. Right, I got the actual number like this. The last one here that I pulled up was Spain, but then again I got the actual number for each country, and then I transferred it over to a spreadsheet. So I took the percentages from the article that we just went through, and I brought them onto the spreadsheet right here. Percentage, and as you can see, Bulgaria is 23.7, just like the article stated, or the statistics stated, all the way down to Finland, 1.3%. Then I took the number of the population off of the website that we just looked at for the total population of Europe, or the EU, or of Europe, not the EU alone. And I went ahead and grabbed the specific country's population. So Bulgaria, here you see that they have 6,781,953. So when that is taken for the percentage that we came up with, for example, 23.7% of Bulgaria's population, which is what they're saying were not able to pay their heating bills or were too poor to pay their heating bills last winter, it comes up to 1,607,323. I did that with every one of these, and that's just for these countries, the ones that they stated. So then the total came out to this number right here, which I went ahead and put commas on it, because all I did was go ahead down here like this and got the total with Excel. So I went ahead and put commas on it. And the total, ladies and gentlemen, is 23,563,102 people that last winter were not able to pay their heating bills. At the very minimum, 23 million people are going to be cold this year. And out of all of those 23 million people, ladies and gentlemen, how many would you think would succumb to the cold, in addition to more than likely being hungry because they cannot afford to heat their home and or eat? I don't really know what to say about this. I just hope that those of you out there that are brothers and sisters that are across the pond, which will be facing the blunt of these sanctions this winter, I truly do hope that you're preparing the very best that you can. I know that it's easy to sit here and tell you, hey, you can do this and you can do that, when you yourself are struggling trying to just put food on the table. But a few simple candles can literally save your life, in my opinion, that is. Right? I hope that you take heed to the warning. I hope that you've been taking heed to the warnings, multiple warnings, not just from myself, but from several other channels and outlets. And I hope that you make it through this winter better than what it is being predicted. I myself have a bleak outlook for what's going to happen this winter, just because all I can do is see what's going on. All you have to do is see what's going on. And it's definitely not favorable to those that cannot afford, even now, just to pay their bills, let alone pay the exorbitant prices that is being asked for heating fuel and fuel in general in that part of the world. Having said that, I actually have a video coming up next. I decided to split these up because the video that I have coming up next has nothing to do with prepping. It is just a fun fact that I actually talked about. I believe it was on Monday's live stream that I talked about this, and all of a sudden I see an article pop up on it, and it's just a fun fact, maybe something to lighten up the day and give you some useless information, right? But I hope to see you there. It'll be a fun video to look at as far as numbers and stuff like that. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, just continue to prepare. That's all that you can do. All right, there's nothing that we can change geopolitically. The clowns are going to do what the clowns are going to do, whether you want them to or not. I think that we've learned that by this time in our lifetimes, especially if you're at a minimum a half centurion, as I am myself. Having said that, have a great day. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.